What's happening, y'all? This is Todd Wilson with another episode of Elevate Your Game. Today, we have CIF championship coach, the director of basketball operations, and the head coach of Viewpoint School, Mr. JJ Prince.
My guy, thank you.
Man.
Thank you for having me.
So excited to finally have you on here, man. We've been talking about
Yes.
it for a long time.
Yes.
Going to get straight to it. And,
Yes.
we start this show off with the wall of hoop movies. Your favorite hoop movie of all time and why? There's a couple not on there. We always like to let people know. Rebound with Martin Lawrence, Just Right with Common and Queen Latifah, Space Jam 2.
It's too hard for me to choose just one, so
Okay.
I'm gonna go with two.
Okay.
Hoosiers. Me and my dad. My dad was so influential for my sports, my love of sports and love of basketball, and that was pretty much probably the first movie he showed me. So, and I actually shared that experience with my son Mason,
Yeah.
not too long ago now. So,
Awesome.
that and White Men Can't Jump. You know, Billy Hoyle. You know,
Yep.
that whole movie's fantastic too. So those are my two.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Two classics. I don't think you can be a true hooper until you watch those two movies.
Correct.
And I think these young kids need to go back and make sure you check these movies out.
Absolutely.
Hoosiers for sure. I think every coach should show it to their team in some like bonding experience or something.
Yes.
And then White Man Can't Jump. Have you seen the new one?
I can't watch it.
You have to do it.
Okay.
I didn't like it,
Okay.
but
But I got to do it.
you have to do it.
Okay.
There's some good ties. They try to. The reason I didn't like it, right, is that the parts that they try to tie into the old movie, I don't think they did justice
Okay.
with it. I think they should have just made a standalone movie because
Sure.
they, made it for this generation, which was cool. But
Yeah.
then they tried to make things kind of similar, but they weren't.
Sure.
It was weird for me. Ultimately, White Man Can't Jump's a classic, and
Yes.
you gotta, just look in the air, licking your finger and seeing which way the air is blowing to shoot your shot. Just little stuff
sure.
like that.
For sure.
Always a classic.
Foods
So,
that begin with the letter Q.
Yes.
The lines they're never ending in that one.
never ending. Never ending. Awesome. So we'll start with when did you fall in love with basketball?
I fell in love with basketball from the second my dad showed me Showtime Lakers, right? The Boston Celtics, Larry Bird. That rivalry was critical, to me growing up. So watching that, and how do you, not grow up with Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and my GOAT, Michael Jordan? How do you not fall in love with the game?
Right.
It was just such an amazing time to be alive, and I'm so glad that was my childhood, right? Those
Yes.
players, those teams. So yeah.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
so, did you grow up in LA?
I grew up in LA. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. So you
Yes.
grew up in LA. So were you a Lakers fan?
Born and
growing up?
raised. Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not so much anymore. It's hard once a couple of the players that you coach make the NBA. Your heartstrings
Yeah.
end up with their teams.
Yes.
So I still support the Lakers, but not in the same way.
Right.
So,
No, 100%. I think I grew up liking the Lakers just because of my dad and all that, and then kind of drifted away when I started actually liking basketball. I started liking different players, right? The Allen Iverson,
Yeah.
Gilbert Arenas, even like those guys in my
Yes.
high school days were like I was all over the place. And then as I became a trainer, like you said, working with NBA players is like I don't know if I could like a certain team.
Sure.
I just like the NBA,
Sure, yeah.
in general. And so my friends hate me for it because they're always diehard Lakers fans, and I talk crap to them, but they can't talk crap to me because I don't have a team. And
Absolutely.
So, it's fun. So
That's good.
So when did you start playing?
I started playing probably when I was 4 or 5 years old, right?
Yeah.
I started dribbling the ball. I was very fortunate to have my dad coach me when I was younger.
Nice.
He instilled a lot of the principles that are within my coaching philosophies to this day. So started playing real young. And, even though I was a Lakers fan, he tried to get the Lakers team for us. But we ended up being the Boston Celtics that year. But it was all good. So yeah, that was when I first remember playing, about 4 or 5 years old.
Wow. Man, I didn't start until I was 11. Everybody comes
Oh,
in here
wow.
and tells me that they started super young.
Okay.
I didn't start playing until I was 11. Like, no love or interest in it at all. And
Wow.
just fell in love with it. And it's just taken off from there.
Yeah.
But I can't even imagine what my mind would be like falling in love with the game that young. Give me I'm a fly on the wall in the Prince household. What is basketball? What did it mean to you growing up? And like you said, your dad instilled those fundamentals and principles into you.
Sure.
What does that look like in the Prince household? You growing up?
It's so I'll never forget, and I do this for my son Mason now. He would always host an end of the year banquet for the team, right? So we go to a restaurant and he'd set everything up, and looking back on it, he'd always give me a book or a picture that meant something to the two of us, right? Whether it was Michael Jordan, Magic, or some Pat Riley book, and he'd always write a message to me within the book, and the message, would always instill confidence within me, but he would always and somehow shape it in a manner where, how am I trying to say this? He would shape it in a manner that spoke to the journey more than anything else. Yeah. It's not about the wins. It's not about the losses. It's about the memories formed, right? The friendships formed.
Yes.
And to stay focused on that, right? As hard as we train and as hard as we practice. And people at that age, at that time, thought he was crazy because he'd have us running half miles and miles to be in shape, legs feed the wolf mentality. But it was awesome looking back. And, there's many messages I'll give to my players, and it reminds me, or my son, and it reminds me of that time period with my dad coaching me.
Man, that's awesome.
So, yeah.
So I have this philosophy. You're a good shooter, aren't you?
I used to be. No longer. I don't pick up the ball anymore in front of the guys.
So you used to be a shooter. Is that one of your calling cards when you did play?
I was an efficient shooter, yes.
So my belief is that when a dad coaches you young, you're a good shooter.
Okay. Yeah.
I am a big believer in that. It has proven every NBA player that I've spoken to that has, and a good form, right?
Sure.
And all of them, their dad taught them how to shoot. Devin Booker, who else I would talk to? Ben McLemore.
Sure.
Like these guys who just got straps. Their dad taught them how to shoot.
Interesting.
It's like, I got to teach even if I'm not the best shooter, I got to teach my son how to shoot. So
I got you.
Something for you too. I'm sure you do it already, but that's something that you can instill that for some reason has a long-term effect. So that's pretty cool.
Interesting.
So working through grassroots, did you play any AAU, middle school, high school? What was it like coming up? Like you're 75 years old, coming up in LA during that time?
Yeah. So yes, I went to Montclair Prep. Okay. And I was there from 7th through 12th grade. Nice. So Coach Malik Mansour at that time was the head middle school coach. And Coach Mansour played for John Wood. And he had quite the career himself, won some national titles. And he was a fascinating human being and an unbelievable coach. So I had the great fortune of playing for him in 7th and 8th grade. And then, did the standard route of freshman year, was on the junior varsity team. We were darn good though. And got the call up my sophomore year, Christmas tournament, go with the team. And my first live action of seeing varsity basketball in Vegas was Baron Davis's Crossroads team.
Oh boy.
Versus Tracy McGrady's Mount Zion team. So it was in that moment that I knew I was not going to be an NBA player, literally, right? But my coaching journey, I always say, started then, in that moment. I knew I wasn't going to play. So, and to actually watch those two live, I still say Baron, for my money, Baron and Drew Holiday are the two best I've ever seen at the high school level with my own two eyes. I didn't get a chance to see LeBron with my own two eyes in high school. On TV I did, but played as a sophomore, junior, and senior at Montclair Prep, graduated and was a walk-on at Wheaton College in Norton, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
It was a long, hard road to be a walk-on. It taught me a lot about being the 12th, 13th guy on the bench, right? Yeah. To this day, I always pay very close attention to those guys on my roster. Right. So that was my playing journey.
Nice. So what was your biggest game playing against somebody in high school?
During that time, there were a ton of greats, right? You already alluded to one, Gilbert Arenas. He was unbelievable in high school at Grant. We played against, I'm sure in the summer league, against the Collins twins. Yeah. They were fantastic. Got to see Casey Jacobson. He was
Oh,
unbelievable.
man. He was crazy.
Could score lights out, right?
Yeah.
Baron Davis, Crossroads.
Yeah.
It was an unbelievable time in SoCal for. I mean, it always is though, right?
Right. I was saying,
I
yeah,
always
every
feel
generation
floated.
said it, but still,
Yeah.
it's like, there's people who are legends now. Like we're looking back in the,
Yes.
that have been through the NBA, retired, and now
Sure.
moving forward. So it's always cool to reflect and see where it was. And honestly, these kids today, I don't even think they know the rich history of LA
Sure.
basketball. And that's why I do this, right? Is to show them like, hey, you're coming from something that's been like this for a long time.
Sure.
Like, make sure
Yeah.
you're honoring the game and respecting the game
Yes.
and knowing who became before you, because there's going to be somebody who comes after you and you want to leave it like you found it. And I
Yes.
think LA basketball has that opportunity to, like, we impact generations through what we do here because of the level of talent that we've been blessed
Absolutely.
with, the level of coaching that we have. Like, a lot of these high school coaches to me could be college coaches, 100%, because
Absolutely.
of the commitment they have to coach these kind of players. And so it sounds like it's even, dating back to when you were in high school.
Yes.
Same concept. So that's awesome.
Even one of my coaches on staff, Josiah Johnson, who him and Gil actually have their own show now. Gilbert Arenas. Josiah was a phenomenal player in high school, and he played at UCLA. He followed his brother Chris and his father Marcus.
Yeah.
Even a guy like Josiah, to me, is a legend. I mean, he would go for 20, 25 a game. Yeah.
Man.
So.
Yeah. So many hoopers in the world.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
And so did you end up graduating from Wheaton after going?
No,
or-
so I went to Wheaton for 2 years and knew I wanted to get into coaching. So I actually moved back out here and began my coaching career at Campbell Hall in the 8th grade. I was the head coach of the 8th grade team for my first 2 years.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so you said, I like that. You said, being a walk-on and understanding that process.
Sure.
What would you tell someone who is maybe, there's a lot of kids trying to be walk-ons now with just the way college is set up.
Sure.
What advice would you give them, and what can you tell them to be prepared for being a walk-on?
Understanding your job. Your job is to get the starters ready, right? Or get the players that play ready. So bringing a high level of attention to detail to the scouting report so you can become whoever you need to become in that practice to prepare for the game.
Yep.
Your likelihood of seeing court time is not high, regardless of how you feel,
Exactly.
because there's scholarship players that were brought in, right, to do a specific thing at the school, right? So they already have an enormous head start on you. So very much embracing your role, right? Preparing your guys and being a great support system, right? It's a hard job, right?
Yeah.
To know night in and night out you're probably not getting on the court. So managing the ego and checking it at the door is something that's a priority and should be all season long.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
No, I think that's great, because I believe some kids believe, hey, I'm gonna walk on and I'm going to be starting.
Sure.
And try to fight to it, and it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's impossible. It's not real. It's not realistic. Was it the probability is just low because of the scholarship players, and you weren't recruited for a reason. To be a scholarship player for a reason. So work harder and do that. Continue to get better. And Spencer Hubbard, right? Walk
Yes,
on at
right.
Duke. And
Yep.
he got a scholarship his senior year.
Yes.
And now he's a real scholarship player at Duke.
Yes.
But he worked his butt off to do that.
100%.
And it happens. But it took him 4 years and a
Yes.
COVID year to do, right? And shout out Spence. Just hit him up on Instagram. So made me think of him. He knew what he was doing when he went to Duke. He knew that he was getting there for the education, for the resources,
Yes.
for the networking. And he wants to stay in basketball after he graduates. He knows he wants to do something with the game, and he tried to
Absolutely.
pick one of the best places to walk on it, right? And have that
Yes.
opportunity, right? So,
Yes, of course.
no, I think that's awesome. And so how did that prepare you for what you do now in coaching, as far as being, a walk-on at a college?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think you better understand the roster, right? Player 1 through 12 or 1 through 13, however many you have on your team. You understand scouting reports better. In my opinion, the way I was utilized was to prepare the other guys. So naturally, you pay very close attention to those scouting reports, right? So you learn the inner workings of how to properly prepare, and work ethic, man. Like you got to bust your butt every single day just to feel a part of it at times, right? Because it does mess with you when you sit there in that shooting shirt every game, right?
Yeah.
In college, it just does. So, so in terms of like work ethic, scouting reports, understanding the emotional stability of every player on the roster. Even though I was a player on the team, you're always on that bench, right? So you're looking left to right. You have relationships with all the guys. How can you uplift them? When they're going through the tough moments.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the natural coach in me kind of came into play a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's awesome. And so your first opportunity, middle school, Campbell Hall.
Yes.
And so, which is fun out
Yes.
here. I don't know. California middle school basketball is amazing. So
Yes.
I've been able to coach in it for the last few
Yes.
years or oversee it. Just
You've
be
taken
close
it to another level, but yeah,
just a little. But
Yes.
it's still, it's even when we first started. So, so history for people listening to the show. We have core where we train kids and we, middle
Sure.
school. So we're very high level. But our first 2 years, we lost to Chaminade and Harvard Westlake in the championship with stacked teams, kids who, one of those teams had Sky Clark, Louisville, Ben Schultzberg, UCSB,
Wow.
but Mike Price, Dusty
Okay.
Stromer, like loaded teams. And we lost to KJ Simpson and what's his name, his running mate. We lost to
Keith
them.
Higgins?
In
Was
Keith,
Keith-
yes,
Keith?
those
Yeah,
two.
yeah.
We lost to them in middle school in the championship game by 30.
Wow.
Yes, that was the second year. Our first year, we lost to Harvard Westlake with Spencer Hubbard, who's there, Mason Hooks.
Okay.
We lost to them, especially with a stacked team as well.
Absolutely.
And so,
Yeah.
middle school basketball is real. Now, since then, we've beat everybody. But, but what was middle school basketball like then? Being at Campbell Hall and this private school, private school league.
It was the most important thing in my world, in my universe, because I knew that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So those 7 to 10 games,
Yeah.
And I don't actually know where I would be because my first experience, I don't know where I'd be without the first team I coached. I'm still very close with some of them to this day. They're now 35 years old. And it's, that's how young I was when I started there. I'm 20, they're 13, 14. But it was, from the parents to the players, just an unbelievable experience. We weren't, the year before, I think they maybe won one game.
Wow.
And the first game I coached was at Brentwood.
Oh, man.
When I tell you we lost by 40, it might have been, it just felt worse. It felt like 100, right? And I'm sitting there, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I must not be very good at this, right? They had this fantastic half-court trap, and so literally every single practice from there on out, we would work on this, our breaking of this half-court trap in case we ran into them in the playoffs, right? Sure enough, semifinals, we play Brentwood. And it's a 9-point game with a minute to go. We're down. And we make this amazing comeback. And we're down 3 with about, 5-6 seconds. Draw up a play. They execute it perfectly. And we get fouled on a 3-point shot. And my one kid, shout out Matt Sherry, who's a legend at Campbell Hall. I had this thing where everyone had to shoot 150 free throws a week, right? And they'd bring in their sheet of paper with how many they made out of the 150. He was one of 4 or 5 kids that made sure he did it every week. But nonetheless, he's 13 years old.
Right.
He has to make all 3 to send it just to overtime.
Man.
He knocks all 3 of them down.
Oh.
Sends us to overtime.
Thank God. I thought he was going to miss one.
No. I mean, he said he was as cool as the other side of the pillow, man. It was
Nice.
It was so such a remarkable thing. And we go into overtime. We beat them, and then we played Chaminade in the finals, which is still to this day one of the best middle school teams I've seen. They were just loaded. So we all kind of have selective amnesia with that game, But it was an amazing run with amazing kids, amazing parents. Graham Bowsley, the point guard on that team, is now the head coach at Cathedral Catholic.
Oh, wow.
He was a 14-year assistant coach, mentored by Bo Ryan, Shaka Smart.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
man. That's
look out for Cathedral Catholic. They're going to be pretty darn good.
Yeah.
So, And then the next year, got the opportunity to coach Drew Holiday at 13 years old. And a lot of the players on that team were also very talented and good. But obviously, he stood out.
just a little bit.
He stood out, yeah, just a little bit.
Awesome. So you have a 13-year-old Drew Holiday. What? I guess you didn't know he was an NBA player then, to an extent. Like, how noticeably different were you able to assess, like, this kid has a potential to be a pro, right?
Yeah,
As a young coach, right? Because
sure.
I think a lot of trainers think their guy is the next
course,
dude,
yeah.
right? And so, I'm around it a lot. Middle school, like, I could pretty much tell now if a kid is going to fizzle out, because I'm not looking just at basketball.
Of course,
I'm looking
yeah.
at the well-roundedness of a person, right? And their family and all these things. What were you looking at then, and what did you see then as a 13-year-old?
In layup lines, buddy, I knew. I was like, he's going deep. He moved different. I'm telling you, I went home that night. I had dinner with my folks actually before I went home, and I said to my mom, I said, I think he's going to be able to go to Duke, North Carolina, wherever he wants. There was something about him. It was like nothing I had ever seen. You could see it then. He was the combination of power and grace. And it was a beautiful thing to watch. It really was.
Wow. So did you guys go on to win the championship that year?
So no, we lost in the semifinals. And those of us that have known Drew his whole life, he's notorious for, if he's jumping out of bounds with the ball, he's looking to throw it off somebody.
Okay.
The kid's head just happened to be there, so he threw it off, just a basketball play. And the official threw him out of the game in the third quarter, right? Yeah. So, it was, so we ended up losing that game without him. And that's how his middle school career ended. But I still watch him to do that play to this day in the NBA.
That's a basketball play.
It's a basketball play, yes.
Do you know who the ref is so we can
I
talk
don't.
to
I don't remember. I don't think I've ever seen him
Was it
again.
certified officials back
Probably
then, too?
not. Probably not.
Say, hey, look at Jim.
Not.
get your stuff together. Oh,
Probably
man,
not,
referees.
Yeah. It was a tough way to go out.
Yeah.
So it was a tough way to go out, yeah.
Oh, man. Well, so middle school ball. So you're still focused. So you're starting in the middle school with the goal of being a head basketball coach.
100%, yes.
High school, college, did you know what level did you want to coach at that time?
I always wanted to be a dad. So it's not to say college coaches can't be unbelievable fathers. The amount of time I wanted to devote to my son or future child, right? Because that's what he was at that time, a future child. High school was my arena, right? And I also love, just for me and how I coach, I believe my greatest impact is between 14 and 18 years old. Well, now 14 and 19 years old, right? So
maybe 21, depending on the birth certificate. But
yes. So but I always felt like high school was my where I wanted to be.
Awesome. So you saw the opportunity. I guess we going reversing a little bit. How did the opportunity at Campbell Hall come about?
Great question. So a gentleman by the name of Chris Holland, who's still there. I worked with him at Sports Plus Day Camp. I was a summer counselor and a program director there, and he said, "Hey, if you're moving back from college, we'd love to get you some work." And he helped set me up, and kind of took it from there.
Man, that's awesome. So the road to being a head coach. So what year is this? This is
total?
No, 2003-ish.
I think 2003, maybe 2002.
And then you became a head coach in 2013.
For Viewpoint?
Yes. A head.
2009 at Viewpoint was my first head job, or was my program.
Okay, so it took you 6 years to become a head coach of your own program.
Yes.
Okay. What was that 6 years like?
When I tell you it's very, very hard, I'm not lying. It's very, very hard because you so desperately want to make it one. If I could talk to my younger self, I would tell him to be more patient, right? Because you always think like you're ready, because you're always preparing for that moment, right? So I would tell my younger self to be more patient. But it's hard because there's no money in it,
right?
You're living off a stipend that when it comes, you've already spent that money. And in this state, things are very, very expensive. So, your determination and persistence, right? It has to remain, right?
Yes.
It has to, you're doing what you love, but you're struggling to survive.
Yeah.
And that's a reality. So a lot of coaches now move into that training sector that you know far better than I do, and there's a lot more money with that up front, right? I can go make $100 an hour, $75 an hour, whatever it is, by comparison to a school stipend or a hourly rate that's going to be taxed.
Right.
So my advice to those that are aspiring head coaches is stick with it, be patient, do whatever you can to make it. If it's dog walking, if it's house sitting, you know, if it's trying to supplement with private training, right? Summer camp jobs. I mean, I did it all. Whatever it took to survive.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So,
No, I like that. You know, you had the dream. You said almost
Yes.
when you first started playing, or when
Yeah.
you realized that you were going to be a coach in Las Vegas, right? Like that moment, you're like,
16 years old.
I know what I know this is for me, right?
Yes.
And you didn't let anything deter you. And like the money thing is real, especially out here in California.
Yes.
But it paid off, I'm sure, at the end of the day. And the journey that you had, that you took as being an assistant, right?
Sure.
Starting in 8th grade. What was the next step? So Campbell Hall, 8th grade.
Yeah, so Campbell Hall head 8th grade coach, and then I had the great fortune of meeting my mentor, Russell White. I was introduced to him through a family friend, and a good friend of my dad's. His son was at Calabasas High School at the time, and he knew I was into coaching, and he knew I wanted to kind of further advance my career, and so he recommended my dad that I call Russell. They were looking for a head freshman coach. So I called Russell. I said, hey, you know, coach, I probably called him sir. I was like, hey, sir, you know, I'd love to meet with you. Where are you at right now? You know, in his Russell voice. I'm like, well, I live at the Warner Center, Woodland Hills. And he was like, okay, well, I'm here now. And I was like, okay, well, I can come by campus right now. I would have gone, you know, however I needed to get there. So he goes, okay. I was like, and he's about to hang up the phone. Wait, I don't know what you look like. You know, how do I find you? 6'5", white, bald. You'll find me. And I was like, okay, no problem. And you know, that's when I met the great Russell White. And I didn't really know anything about a program.
Yeah.
Until that time, and he's just been a blessing for me every step of the way since I met him. He's a great friend. Very blessed to be the godfather of his, second child, Spencer, who I think is going to be a 7-footer.
Wow.
But yeah, so I met Russ at Calabasas High School, and they had just come off their first ever CIF final appearance with Drew Hausman.
Yeah.
And then the next year we were really, really good. We just didn't have enough to win a championship. But I think we had 5 or 6 guys that were 6'8" and taller.
6'8" and taller.
We were huge.
Yes.
We didn't have a point guard. We were huge.
That's crazy.
And and then Russ that next year got the head job at Crespi. I got a call to return to Campbell Hall, so I go. Coach Drew his junior year. It was Justin's senior year. Rob Ford was unbelievable. My former assistant coach Keegan Hornbuckle, who I think, and not for the injuries, he was the perfect modern day basketball player. 6'6", 6'7", could pass, dribble, and shoot. Super smart. I really believe he was an NBA guy too. Just a brilliant basketball mind.
Deuce was there at that time.
Deuce was there at that time too. It was loaded. I mean, I think we were number 11 in the country. You know, and that team was, Joe Finnerty, 6'8", played volleyball at UCLA. He was, he really pieced that team together. Was very much a glue guy.
Yeah.
He could allow everybody to guard their natural positions, and it was great, man. What an unbelievable group of guys that was.
Man, that's awesome. I want to go back to Russell White and finding that mentor, right?
Yes.
I think that's so important for coaches to, we have some pride with us, right? Because we played and we've learned and we can do things as coaches and trainers and all that. I think it's extremely important to get that, at least one person, right, if not multiple, that can show you the ropes.
100%.
And like you said, that was your first introduction to running a program. So what should a young coach look for in a mentor?
Oh, wow, what a great question. First and foremost, I don't think it's any different than a player. Find somebody that cares about you. So when players are looking for programs, I would highly recommend finding a coach that is going to invest in you, right? Russell has this amazing way of treating his assistant coaches and the people that work for him. He's, for as intense as he can be, he's so huge-hearted with his assistant coaches, and he's so willing to share, because that guy is unafraid of somebody doing it as good as he does. You know what I mean? Like, he's that good at what he does. So he shares every bit of knowledge, and he has a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
And he just treated us unbelievably. And, you know, I think that's, to answer your question specifically, I think that's where it starts, right? Is finding somebody that cares about you.
Yeah.
Because that is not always the case.
So, it's not, you know. No. And so finding somebody who cares for you. On the basketball side, what are you looking for? Like you said, this is your first time being introduced to a real program.
Sure.
I think that is why a lot of coaches don't do as good as they can, because they know the basketball, they can get the kids, but that program is not structured the proper way. How important is that program structure, and what have you learned along your journey and as a head coach now that you would teach somebody who maybe is your assistant?
That's a really good question as well. I think structure, right? Because so much of our job is really not on the court. You know, it's the balancing of parents, players, coaching staff, schedules. There's just so much that goes into all this. Your advanced network of college coaches, right? Your advanced network of AAU programs. Doing a deep dive into all of that is absolutely necessary if you want to be successful, right?
Right.
If you're just focusing on X's and O's and your court time, that's probably 30% of the job now.
Yeah.
You know, and that might be a high number. So really having somebody to show me those ropes was critical. And I try and do that with my staff members that are aspiring for more.
Yeah.
I've been very lucky. My guys have stayed with me.
Yeah.
You know, Ron Quarterman, who I love dearly. He's more of a brother now. You know, he and I are in year 16 together.
Wow.
I stole.
So he was with you at Crespi.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he was with me at Crespi. We were JV, and we just clicked. And he's a Crespi alum, so it was hard to steal a Crespi alum. But we went through the proper channels with Russell, and he approved it. So yeah, but you look at Coach Pope, who's I believe was just on the podcast recently. He's going to be a fantastic head coach. He's got the X's and O's. He's got the charisma. You know, he. From his playing days as a point guard is so brilliant, right? So he's the total package, and it was really a blessing to have him on staff last year. I always tell him we lucked into him. Yeah. So yeah.
No, that's awesome. The coaching trees, man. The people who are connected to Russell White and the other one who came on the show, Reggie Morris, like those coaching trees are just ridiculous.
Sure. Yeah.
In just the LA area. I mean, I'm sure there's more. Those are the two that
Absolutely.
we had here. There's many more, but it's just crazy how everybody's connected here, and you know, I coach with this person here, and all that kind of stuff is just amazing to me.
Yeah.
And it's a big family, and that's what I love this show for, is that I want to get back to the connectivity of this basketball thing. It's like we're so competitive, but that doesn't mean that we can't hang out and still talk basketball and
100%.
share information and really look out for these kids. At the end of the day, we all do this because we love working with kids and developing them on the court, or using basketball as a tool to develop them. And so I want to always encourage that, and that's awesome. Like, you have some connectivity up here with Russ, and then now Austin, you know, guys who worked under you and that you've worked with. So that's awesome. So your time at Kemble Hall, we got to talk about it. National ranked team. That's a whole different level of basketball.
Yes.
What was the moment that you realized is like, oh, this is this is real basketball here, right?
Yeah, it was. So to go from Calabasas, where we had really good teams, like you said, those are more state level teams, right? And then you go to the national level, the speed, the skill set, the size and length. Right, our greatest gift was our team speed, and we really got up and down. We went to Minnesota for a showcase and played Hopkins, and you give us an NBA court at 92 feet, that space. I mean, they couldn't even keep up, and they were a fantastic team. You know, I probably watched 4 or 5 films, and they were great. You know, and we just ran them off the court. Good luck against Rob Ford, Drew Holiday, Justin, and those guys. Man, they were incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was Dallas there yet, or Dallas came?
Dallas was there. Dallas that year was dealing with a little bit of a knee injury.
Okay.
So he got a little bit of a late start. Dallas is an unbelievable young man. I'm so happy to see his successes too.
Yeah, awesome.
He's great. Yeah.
No, and so what was that the biggest game against Hopkins in Minnesota? What was the biggest game that year? That's when you guys played the Brooks brothers as well, right? I'm sorry, the
Lopez
Lopez
no,
twins.
we did not play them that year.
Oh, okay,
that
okay.
was so they won one, lost one. Yeah, we did not play them that year. That was not the big. I would not call it the biggest game. We ended up playing La Cañada in the CIF finals, and you know, if there's Vegas odds on it, not to sound too much like Jack Pollan with Vegas odds, but you know, we're probably 15 to 20 point favorites,
right.
And we all know that, you know, from what's on paper, but their coach over there is it Coach Hoffman, Coach Tim Hoffman at La Cañada.
Yes. Yeah.
He's an unbelievable coach, and his offensive spacing has you guarding for all 35 seconds, and they spread us out, and Justin got in foul trouble early, and it was a game, man, and you know, I believe we won it in overtime.
Wow.
But I remember talking to Drew the day before. I was like, "You ready, man?" I was like, "You ready to do this?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Even if I got to score 40." Well, he had 39, you know, so
he had a score.
So yes, so yeah, it was a great game. So I'd say that, yeah.
Yeah. Going into his senior year, you're still on staff there. You stayed on.
So I left after that year and returned to Russell at Crespi.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah, and I was the head JV coach for those next 2 years.
Got it. What shifted? What going to a national level team, and so Russ, that was his second year at Crespi.
Yes.
What shifted to call you back to Crespi?
I think mastering your craft is really important, right? So being in the head coach's seat was far more of a need for me.
Got it.
And returning to my mentor, I needed those additional 2 years of training. I just did. You know what I mean? Looking back on it, I didn't think I did at the time.
Right. Okay.
But in terms of really being able to run a program, right? And I learned so much from him those next 2 years, and yeah, it was very beneficial. And our Crespi teams couldn't hurry. You know, they got good in a hurry. So. Yeah.
Were you a player developing coach as well? Like, were you on the court with your guys when you were, you know, on the lower levels, or an assistant coach? What was that like then?
I mean, you got no kids. I mean, you lived on the court. At Campbell, I'd stay every day with Justin Holiday, and his work ethic was so incredible.
Yeah.
Right, and it was so fun to show him something, and you know, another kid that doesn't have his basketball background or athletic abilities takes, you know, 3, 4, 5 weeks to pick some up. He'd pick it up in a session. 10 minutes. Like, it was incredible, man. And Justin's become a beautiful shooter. You know, I mean, that's how he's really, aside from all his intangibles, really stayed in the league. I mean, he's right around 40% every year.
Yeah.
So to go through that shooting process with him, you know, every single night was really cool for me.
Yeah. No, his story is amazing. Going overseas for a little bit and contemplating retirement, and then boom, the NBA hits, and he's been there ever since.
Yeah, he's been there ever since, for sure.
So no, that's amazing.
For sure.
All right, so going back to Crespi, JV coach and assistant varsity coach, I'm assuming.
I did both.
I'm assuming.
I did it all.
And then for 2 years, 2 more years.
Yep.
And then you get the call up to Viewpoint.
Yeah, so you know, you're applying for jobs along the way. You're not getting them. I still have my list. So I know, you know, every time we play them. But, you know, Viewpoint gave me my first chance. Patrick Moy, our athletic director there, and Bob Dorkowski, who was the then headmaster, took a chance on a 27-year-old kid, you know, and the rest is history so far. Yeah,
man. So stepping into a head coaching job, I'm getting a head coaching job next year. What are the first 3 things that I need to know stepping on campus?
Mm-hmm. I think everybody speaks to culture. I'm really sick and tired of that, if I'm being honest. I think you got to follow your North Star, right? It's what are the things that are important to you and your staff, and you start implementing that each and every day, right? What's the moral and ethical fabric going to be for you, for your program? Because we don't get the famous, when you're taking over a program and you're 27, you're not getting the nationally ranked team.
Right.
You know, you're starting from scratch essentially. And it's the famous Bill Parcells line, you know, if I'm going to cook the meal, I want to shop for the groceries. But we don't get to do that, you know. So focusing on the players, you do have, not the players you don't, was where we started, right? And within 3 years, we went from 4 wins to 12 wins to 18 wins. And we went the furthest in school history. We went all the way to the quarterfinals. Wow. And it was, we played Coach George Zidane's team, Camwell Sacred Heart, and it was a 1-point game with 30 seconds to go. They got the best of us, but we were right there within 3 years. And we then, after that year, made the decision as a school to re-league, right? So we were in the Liberty League up until that point, which was a very good league. But the Gold Coast League essentially took us, to, another place in the landscape of, high school basketball. Yeah. So you're talking about, Sierra Canyon, Brentwood, Campbell Hall, Windward. The league was loaded. I think 5 teams our first year were top 25 in the state. Pacific Hills was in that time. They had 5 Division Ones. Right. Yep. So here we are. We graduate 9 players from our quarterfinal team. Enter Christian Jazang, Miaoni and Aram Arslani and Shao Denley. Some of our players that were trailblazers, along with Tim Howell. And it was a tough year, in league. I thought we had a really good basketball team and players. We were just very, very young. Mm-hmm. I think we were 0-12. We were in every game. We were hanging around. And then they would just, they knew how to win. And we didn't up until that time. Right. Re-leaguing was the best thing in the world for us, though. We knew we'd take some lumps. Right. But I think that's what led us to our successes as well. Yeah. So.
No, the having a young team who can compete at that level and may not get the wins on the court, but those little wins are building into something. And I think it speaks to, so you built the program to even get re-leagued, right? I don't think that would have took you if you were 4 and whatever.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
And the patience of your administration to understand that. I think there's a huge misconception from people who maybe haven't played or haven't coached, I'm going to say basketball specifically because I can speak to that, is that it takes time. You had your quarterfinal team had 9 seniors. Yes. You had to build it when 100%. When you made it to the CIF finals. Mm-hmm. You had strong juniors and a senior who's an NBA player. 100%. You won it when all your guys were seniors. Like having that patience when somebody has, needs to rebuild and restructure. And I think it's just like the NBA. Yeah. You had the last 3 championship coaches before this year all got fired a year later, which is crazy. Yeah. And so, speak to that, your administration. What is that communication like during those times? Is there something to be said by the coach, or is there just an understanding overall?
It's a really good question. So Patrick Moore, our athletic director, I think he's in year 35 at Viewpoint. So at that time he was in year 20, maybe 21. The headmaster at the time was close to 30 years. To say they're seasoned vets in the athletic, landscape and from a school high academic standpoint would be an understatement. The value at our school is placed on. I work with a gentleman named Travis Kikagawa, and he talks a lot about life over sport, right? And I already alluded to following a North Star. And Patrick really allows us as head coaches to develop, build, nurture, foster growth, right? Yeah. And that ethical component of, having the strict adherence to the CIF rules and protocols, right? Yeah. Is very important to him. And I love it as a head coach because I know the terms of engagement, right? I know what the expectations are. The communication is very clear. Mm-hmm. It's very transparent. And we were willing to be patient and build with him. And that's what we did, And then as you start to gain some traction and you start going to more events and you start playing better, we became very much a referral-based program, And we've had a lot of success doing it. But from a headmaster to associate headmaster to athletic director, there has to be patience, and I'm grateful that they were, because a 4-win season's hard. Even when it's going to be an uphill climb, it's still very hard to go through. You know, and 12 wins sounds like a lot by comparison, but that's still a losing season, right? So you go from 4 wins, you triple your win total, you're 12-15 the next year. Still a losing season. We made first round of playoffs. We went down to St. Margaret's. We were the 31 seed. They were the 2 seed. Got absolutely pounded. But it was a step in the right direction, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Awesome. So going into, you know, you see a shift, right? After that, their freshman year, you know, Christian and Mie sophomore year.
Sure.
What shifted? What characteristics of that team did you know they had championship potential growing into it, and what were those characteristics?
Yeah, so I really believed in that group from the time they arrived on campus. There was something special about them to this day, you know, when they were living in different states for colleges, or now that their lives are getting busier. I mean, they would come back from college, they'd land, they'd go meet at IHOP, and they'd sit there for 4 hours and catch up. You know, so they're very close even to this day. There was that connective tissue that they had that every championship team needs, right? You need that connective tissue. And, you know, so you saw it building. Doesn't mean it wasn't a struggle, right? I mean, when you're 0-12 in league, it's hard. You know, when you're 2-8 the next year, it's hard. And then when they came out the other side, and now they're juniors and seniors, and now they're, you know, the grown men of high school basketball, you really started to see, from a physicality standpoint, team up with their skills. And then we really took off from there. But yeah, I saw something very special in them. I have a couple of them. Charles Kleinman's our head JV coach to this day. One of the most important players in our program, Ram Arslani, and he does anything we need, whether it's varsity assistant, head Froshoff coach, JV. They love the program. Matt Kern, he arrives on campus every chance he gets. Our guys come back and they want to coach, they want to be a part of it, they want to give back. And that's all from that special group. You know, Mie tells me all the time, Christian tells me all the time, whatever you need, coach. You know, whatever you need, coach. And Shiloh Denley, these guys are just really special to us. So
Absolutely. What's it like coaching a pro? So you've coached probably 10 to 12 pros over your career?
I think it's 7. I think it's 7.
7?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
7.
Yeah. I'm hoping I get to 10 or 12.
Okay. Okay. So 7. What is that? Well, I'm including guys that you coach UAA and club ball, right? It's still 7-ish?
I think it's still 7-ish. I might be missing one.
Okay. Okay. So multiple pros. What is it like coaching pros? What is different? How, you know, every parent thinks their kid is a pro. What is the real difference that you've seen in your experience coaching pros?
A couple things. I think pros at the high school level are terrifying to be an opposing coach of, right? It's the second they cross half court, it's like, you know, get them, you got to grab them, you know, find them, you know, so it's one of those. But I think it's their approach to the game, how serious they are about their trainings, their nutrition, right? How they take care of their bodies. They live, breathe, eat, sleep, training, conditioning, and basketball. And their dedication, you know, it's the famous line, the difference between interest and commitment. There's kids that love basketball that show up for the 2 hours of practice, they go home. And they don't pick up a ball till the next day when 2 more hours of practice. And then it's killer instinct. Every pro that I've had the ability to coach, and the great fortune of coaching, they have that killer instinct. You know, you can stack the deck against them in a practice. I'm sure you've heard this from Coach Tate. You know, you try and put the next 5 best players after Drew on one team, and then, you know, the other players who are really good too on that team with Drew, and you try and stack the deck a little, and he would always find a way to win. And he, you know, Nico Mannion, you know, 15U, him and Josh Green playing against 17U guys, and they had that switch when they'd get mad. You know, it's like, no, we've had enough. You know, if you're down 10, all of a sudden you're up 6. It makes us guys as coaches look real smart at times too. You know.
Do you think that's developed, or do you think they're kind of born with it?
I think some of it's, you know, they're born with it. It's a genetic component, but I also believe it's how they're raised. Right. That you have that deep self-belief that's instilled within you from mom and dad, right? partnered with somebody. I don't think people know how to work hard. You know, they see the examples in their life.
Yes.
They have somebody, you brought up mentors earlier. They have a mentor that guy's a big brother, right? Or you know, a grandfather, a father, an uncle, a mother, a sister, whoever it is in their life. You learn how to work hard. You establish a work ethic, right? And if you don't, you got people that are honest with you. Hey, you're not working hard enough. You know.
Yeah.
I think that's an absolute necessity. In order to be successful. But in terms of pros, those are the two things that stand out to me as approach and that killer instinct.
Parents, listen to the man. Training, commitment to training, nutrition. I'm sure they didn't have excuses. I know these kids. They had no excuses. They lived in the gym. They were literally
100%.
either at Viewpoint.
Yes.
When they didn't have Viewpoint, they're at 360 Health Club training.
Yes.
Like, these kids were just animals when it comes to that, and their parents just was yes, and held them accountable to it.
100%.
I can't stress that enough. Like, the highlight mixtapes and who you think your kid is important.
Yeah.
It's important, but if you really want them to have an opportunity to be a pro at any level, those things just really, really separate them. That killer instinct attitude, which has to do with how they're raised, and I think that comes from the accountability and responsibility you give them as they're growing up, as well as just their inner hunger. Like, can't force anybody to be a pro basketball player. They've tried multiple times, and they usually they're not in the NBA anymore.
Correct.
They're not.
I honestly think, as a head coach, all the guys that were aspiring for that level and good enough for that level, you worry about them as head coaches. Are they doing too much? You know, and then you take a school like ours who has the high academic component.
Yes.
Right? So they got to get it done in the classroom. You know, are they getting the right amount of sleep? Right? Are they getting the right amount of rest for their body? Like, there's management with that. So when that starts to get on my radar for a player, I know that's also a really good sign, because they're so devoted to the game.
Yeah. So absolutely. And you've been able to put 27? 33? How many kids in college now?
So at Viewpoint, it's 22.
22 at Viewpoint.
Yeah.
So as a head coach, you put 22 people in the
Divisions
college.
1 through 3. Yeah.
Understanding that process, how tough is it to be a college basketball player nowadays?
It only gets harder. You know, especially when the NCAA during COVID awarded the year of eligibility back. Right. I really felt like there was a massive logjam that was created, and I'm not sure there's been a market reset for the route from high school straight to college. I don't think that's happened, especially with the transfer portal.
Yeah.
So you have to be really good, and even sometimes that's not enough. So now that kind of segues into, well, as a high school basketball coach, how do you create a safety net for your players, right?
Yeah.
So I've really worked hard to establish a close relationship for postgraduate years with boarding schools.
Yeah.
Because that market now, you know, gives these kids an extra year. But it also, you go to like a Phillips Exeter or Suffield or, you know, something like that, you get into an area where academics, right? Now all of a sudden your network expansion from a standpoint of life also grows. So forget just basketball, right? It enhances your 40-year plan. So you get trained to be a college student, number one. Obviously high schools do a great job of that, but now this is more college-like, number one. Number two, they're training you even further how to be a collegiate athlete.
Yes.
You're playing grown men every night. You're not running into 14, 15, 16-year-olds. So you're playing more like athletes. There's just so many advantages to that route to continue on your path.
Yes.
Right. So
I think there's something to kids in California specifically going to the East Coast for
Yes,
school and
100%.
getting out of here because it's so saturated. There's a lot of talent here.
Yes.
And it's hard to see. We've had many kids who slipped away to University of Virginia, no California school, and win the national title. Shout out to Kihei. But I'm just like,
Kihei,
it's like,
yeah.
how do you have somebody in your backyard that's that good and you just let them slide away? No offense to college coaches, but it's happened.
Yes.
And it's like, get out, right? Get to the East Coast, travel a little bit. I think it's just important that kids know all their options and understand the dynamic of California basketball. Is nothing like it. I don't care what anybody says. There's nothing like Southern California basketball because of the amount of talent. And so
you have to, as a head coach, work extremely hard for your guys too. So if somebody's going to supply you with their blood, sweat, and tears, and all this time, and all this commitment, and all this sacrifice, you got to get on the phone, and you got to call. And you're not going to, obviously develop a lot of relationships with a lot of coaches, but there's so many coaches out there. Some you don't know, right? And it's like you keep calling until they answer.
Yep.
They're eventually going to answer, and the hope is that they take their job seriously and they come watch your player. Yeah. But it's our job as high school head coaches to get on the phone. I'm not really an email guy; I'd rather do the phone thing, and get them in your gym. So
yes, this will be a clip that we're posting on Instagram because it's important for head coaches to hear that. Awesome. So, all right, two moments that you've experienced. I want you to talk about them both, and then we're going to compare them a little bit because they have different contexts. One, winning a CIF title.
Yes.
What is that? What emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually? What did that feel like winning a CIF title?
It wasn't what I thought it would be, if you want to know the truth. In that moment, it was an out-of-body experience for me. I was so happy for my players. You know what I mean? Like for me, that was seeing the smile, their smiles, their hugs, the sheer joy, right, in the locker room. Like I get goosebumps thinking about it now, walking in that locker room after you do your interviews and stuff. And man, it was just to come around that corner and they're hugging each other and they see you and they hug you, and yeah, I got goosebumps thinking about it. But for me, I felt great because we accomplished something that had never been done in school history. But I was just so happy for them. But I didn't feel much different. I felt such a sense of accomplishment the year before as well, guiding that team to a CIF final for the first time in school history. And we were down 19 in the first half, and the boys talked about not shooting too many threes. Windward was really long that year. They were loaded with size, and Mulholland Highway were guard heavy, right? So we made a couple threes early, of course, and we took the fool's gold and started shooting too many, go down 19 to the point where I sit down next to Coach Ron. Like, this isn't going so well, man, and Mie hits this half-court shot to go into halftime, and we kind of got a little momentum out of that, and we chipped away and chipped away and chipped away. We'd cut it to 5, and when we were so good, they'd go up 10, and then we'd cut it to 4, and they'd go up 8, and it got to the point with about a minute left, Christian Jazang gets a left-handed layup to put us up 1. And I'll just never forget the roar of the crowd. It was our whole
This is at
section.
Viewpoint, right?
The game was not at Viewpoint. This is our CIF final against Windward.
Oh, this is
a
the final.
opponent.
Okay.
So this is the CIF final, and legitimately, Christian makes this left-handed layup, and it was like 50 years of having no basketball history really at the school being erased in that moment. And the crowd, I'll never forget the roar. I can hear it right now. And we go up 1, and when we were so good, like I said, they go up 1 within 10 seconds, so it's short-lived. We're literally down 1 point with 4 seconds to go. And Aram Arslanian makes one of the most unbelievable catches off of it, because we not only played each other twice in the league, now we're playing CIF final. So that third time, they know all your stuff.
Right.
We know all their stuff. It's hard to get the ball in bounds. Aram makes this unbelievable catch, gets fouled, goes to the foul line, misses the first of 2. And Aram was an incredible player, played for the Armenian national team. Yeah. And again, this is where coaching in the journey matters. Him being able to stabilize in that moment and swish the next one to send the game into overtime was a remarkable accomplishment in itself. The competitor in you wants both, and you leave, winning. But we go in overtime. We just got outplayed. They had a couple offensive rebound putback, Sharif O'Neal. We go on to lose, but my feeling after that game was just pride, man. Yeah. And then Aram, to his credit, I think was probably in meaningful moments 100% foul shooter when the game was on the line the next year in 2016 when we won. Yeah. I didn't even watch. That's how good he became. So again, young players, working on your game. He wanted those moments. But yeah, the feeling when you win for me was more about the team and
Yeah.
everything we had gone through in those 4 years.
No, that's awesome.
You know,
like
yeah.
you literally, I can see your words. It's like crazy
Yeah.
how detailed
Yeah.
you are in remembering these moments that
Sure.
were, 7 years ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
awesome that this is that vivid to you, and
Mm-hmm.
awesome. So the second moment, hearing Mihei being drafted to the NBA.
Oh, that was cool. Yeah. So Mie, his agent is a great friend of mine, Jason Glushon, who does Glushon Sports Management, and just hearing your name get called, because at that time he was one of 4,000, that had ever been able to play in the NBA. I mean, the percentages of you being able to make it to that level or so. I mean, what is it? 0.0001%.
Yes.
It's insane.
More people get struck by lightning.
Yes.
So.
Seriously, you're right,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I didn't even think of it from that perspective. So yes, it's truly remarkable. But Mie's journey was really unique. I have pictures of him at 5'9", as a freshman, and we saw the size his father had and his sister, and his mother. I remember she told me, he could play in the NBA, and her belief in her son was incredible, as was the father's. Sophomore year, things aren't materializing the way he wants. He sticks with it, builds himself up to the start of junior year where he's playing great and he's ready to have a monster year for us. The weirdest thing, he goes up, this was Kyle Lufroy's St. Francis team. We played them in a scrimmage. They're coming off the CIF finals, so it's a really good scrimmage and a really good test to see where we were at. He goes up for a dunk, my back's turned. All of a sudden, it's every coach's nightmare. We're talking layup lines, man. Something in his knee just gave. And, he misses 3 months, comes back the tail end, I think the game before playoffs and then playoffs. And, we get eliminated. So his junior year doesn't go the way he had wanted. It was taken from him. To his credit, builds himself up. He's playing incredible. I think he grew another couple inches from like the fall to like January.
Oh, for sure.
So he now goes from 6'4" to 6'6". The guy's going for 20 and 12 and 4 blocks and 6 assists. Mie loved to pass as much as he loved to score. He always tapped me on the shoulder, Coach, let me play some point guard. So I made an arrangement with him. Because he's also an elite businessman, And, Yale mind. And,
Yes.
You get the rebound, you play point guard, buddy. So
those
rebounding numbers shot up.
Rule.
It's hard though. You have a really talented player that can handle the ball and pass like him. But you have Christian Jizang, you have Shai O'Denloy, so everybody on that team could really handle it. So it was hard to balance that. And to his credit, he bought into that role beautifully and took us to places we had never gone.
Awesome. And he was committed to a Division III school, right?
Yes, so he was committed to Williams, Division III. And, that didn't go exactly how one would want. And the great Coach Jones, James Jones at Yale, came calling. And shortly after, things didn't work out with Williams. And Coach Jones, he's incredible. For those that don't know about the Yale basketball program, he runs a remarkable program over there. Yeah. And Mie went and played for him. And but that summer, Mie blew up too. So he not only blew up in our season, that BTI team goes on to either be in the championship game of the Fab 48 or win the Fab 48. So now all of a sudden, University of Wisconsin's calling me. Michigan, Florida, he blew up.
Right.
And guys, you're going to have to check in with Mie and his family, but he is very loyal to Coach Jones in Yale, and he's going to be attending Suffield, and he very much followed that route and ended up graduating from Yale. It's a pretty incredible story.
Yeah, no, it's amazing to see somebody like a late bloom, right?
Yes,
it's
for
like
sure.
he just a late bloomer who stayed focused,
yes,
battled through injury, and man, that kid's always smiling. Like
yes,
he's just always smiling. He's always had a good spirit, and you still see it now. So that's awesome, man.
Huge heart, Coach. Like he has a huge heart on the court. Like I said he's a killer, man. Yeah. I did not have to keep score with him and Shai O'Denloy for 4 years. That's how you got a good team, when the coach never has to keep score.
Yes.
You know?
They know it because
they know it. Yeah. They know it.
Awesome. So, working through now your, your current team. You got a young team.
Yes.
Still in the Gold Coast, so every game is competitive.
Everyone.
You guys snuck one away last year, right? In the Gold Coast.
Oh yeah, against Campbell Hall to end the year.
Yeah. And so, like you said, there's these moments, right? And every 4 years almost, you got to kind of hit a reset or a rebuild.
Sure.
And looking forward to seeing your growth and the kids' growth. You've seen what you're able to do with, hey,
Yeah.
we're here at this level and building it up,
Sure.
and then building it up. So excited to see what you're going to do. What can we expect just from your team this year and over the next 2 years or so?
We want state, so like that's the next goal at Viewpoint is bring a state championship to the basketball side of things. We fell short in 2016. We were in the state regional finals. We lost to Dave Rubibo and Harvard Westlake. And we lost in the state regional finals again in 2022. So not last year, the year before. When I tell you it's, for me, maybe it's because I've lost there twice. We've lost there twice. It's a very hard place to lose. You can literally sniff Sacramento.
Yeah.
And to be there twice, that's, our goal, our vision is set on that prize. In regards to the group currently, I love them. I think they have the talent to do it. The group we have intact is going to be together minimum 2 years.
Nice.
A lot of them will be together 3 years. So as, yes, we are builders of basketball teams. That's what we take, unbelievable pride in. We're never afraid of that challenge. I expect a lot of great things from us this year, next year, and beyond.
Awesome.
We're hunting that state title.
No, I love it. I love it, man. I love the goals
So-
and to see how you get there, right? And that's what I'm going to be watching. Is hey, how are you adjusting? Because I just love the game, and I love to see how different people reach their goals, right?
Sure.
There's so many different ways to do it, but there's some consistencies in success.
Absolutely.
And so being able to use what you already have for success in the past, but also add tools to the bag to grow over the years. So
Sure.
excited to see you guys do it. Awesome. We're going to hop into my Rushmore. Your
Okay.
top four, and the topic today is your top four UCLA players
Yes.
of all time.
You got to go. Am I starting or you starting?
You're starting this.
I'm
I'm not
starting.
starting this. Yeah.
Kareem.
Yes.
You got to
Okay.
go Kareem Abdul-Jabbar there. At the time, Lou Alcindor, right?
Alcindor,
Yeah, at the
yep.
time, Lou Alcindor. You got to go Bill Walton, right? For personal reasons, I'm going to go Marcus Johnson because I think, being around Marcus helped coach us a little bit and basically donated his time while I was in Montclair Prep. So he's someone who's real special to me, and he's an absolute legend there as well. His son Josiah. And then the fourth one for me, for my personal Mount Rushmore, is Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
For my personal one, I'm sure that comes as no surprise.
Yeah.
That would be my my UCLA Bruin Mount Rushmore.
I love it.
Yeah.
And so that was the ones that you thought were the best there, or have most impact.
So that might be a little different.
Or are these your favorite? Those
those are my favorites. If we're talking speaking to historical context, I still think Kareem, Bill Walton. God, it's hard not to choose Ed O'Bannon because he won the national title, right?
Yes.
And-
Well, I was asking because I wanted to make sure I could pick my favorite four and
Yeah.
not the top four.
Yeah.
And so, because my favorite
you can
four.
do both. Yeah.
All right, we can balance
It's your
it out.
show. You can do whatever you want.
All right, look, because UCLA, like I'm a UCLA fan. Where I
Sure.
don't have an NBA team, I'm a UCLA fan. I
Okay.
just love UCLA.
Yeah.
My dad went there, and so I've always just, I grew up just knowing it, right?
Sure.
Man, of course, Kareem.
Yes.
I can't be stupid. I just can't be dumb. After that, there's a few that just, to me, impacted basketball different that went there.
Oh, interesting.
And so, for me, Jordan Farmar, the Final Fours in a row, those teams, how he led them, just his journey. I love watching Jordan Farmar just through those years. He's the same age as me, but it was like,
He was incredible at Taft too.
yeah,
Incredible.
I heard it was ridiculous. I was in Kansas during the time when he was at Taft, and so, but I would still watch UCLA. So
I was in college and I come back and watch him play. That's how good he was. Go ahead though. Sorry, I interrupted.
No,
you.
no, you're fine. This is where we get to chop it up. And oh man, this is so bad, but it's just the truth. Darren Collinson as well. Like these guys to me, I guess, because they are my same age and just watching them and then seeing their careers in the NBA for 10 years.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And to me, I think UCLA has this culture of point guard.
Yeah.
That sometimes they miss on. But they were the culture, right?
Yeah.
They were the culture. I was too young for Baron Davis. I wasn't like
Understood.
watching basketball like that. But I know he was the man.
You're aging me now. You're aging me.
I had to. I know. And lastly, I'm gonna throw a little. I think I'm gonna do Jaime Jaquez, man.
Oh, good. Most recent. I love it.
Because to stick through, it felt like a little turmoil. Like he just stuck through, and he's in the league now. He's with Miami
with the perfect organization for him. Yeah,
and
I think he's gonna do great
all through high school to stay at Camarillo 4 years, not jump the gun. Work on his game and do it, and then go to UCLA 4 years and just do it and just buy in. He just bought in to what Cronin was teaching.
100%.
It's let him. I love that. That's impact to me. Is like
somebody
who has the potential and takes advantage and doesn't make excuses for their situation and freaking makes it, man. Now, shout out to all my other UCLA, Matt Barnes, like all these other people. Those are just the 4 that stick off the top of my head for this conversation. There's so many more. So yeah, that's where we're at for that. So
Matt Barnes, unbelievable.
Yeah,
what a great NBA career that was.
Yeah,
and to have his 2 sons now.
Yes,
same journey.
Oh man,
that's got to be very cool for him.
Yeah, no, he loves it. You can see it, like him coaching them in AAU and coming back to he doesn't have to do that, but he absolutely loves it. And he's really cool, man. Everybody I know that went to UCLA was they're just awesome, man. They're good people, and it's LA. It's like so LA to me. LA culture, LA basketball. So
UCLA, the former UCLA player Coach Bailey Moose, he does an unbelievable job at Brentwood.
Yes,
I mean he's a fantastic basketball mind. And fits right in with your theory that they're good guys, man. He's fantastic. He's easy to call and chop up hoops with or get his advice on or opinion. He's one of the real good guys, man.
Yeah. And then Tiger Camp. Oh man, there's so many. There's so many like these new guys. Cody Riley, the local guys who got in. Aaron Holiday, you know, and like him going from I'm starting to a 6th man and still making it to the NBA when Lonzo came. Lonzo bought UCLA basketball. Y'all can't. I don't want to hear it from anybody else. UCLA basketball is it. But awesome. So this is the part of the interview where we flip the script.
Yes.
Okay. 2 questions for me. Any subject. Anything you want.
I would love to know where you see yourself in 20 years. Given the nature of what you're currently doing, and maybe there's a vision for that 20 years down the road, or maybe there's a vision for you in life after basketball.
Absolutely. So 20 years from now, there's 2 worlds I live in, and hopefully they can come together in 20 years. One, I want to be with an NBA team in like the back office, front office somewhere, putting championship teams together.
That's cool. That's
something
great.
Like that. I do it on NBA 2K. I don't even play the game. I go to my GM mode. Yes, I go to my GM mode. I literally win championships with every team. Like,
well, there you go.
I know how to build chemistry.
Yes.
Like
that should be on the resume.
Yes,
that's got to go on the resume.
2K, 17 championships. So yeah, doing that and just being influential in the basketball space. You know, like I feel like I'm impacting the Valley now with this kind of stuff, but you know, just giving other people the voice to like just share their experience, I think is amazing. So I think stepping to that level, being able to get to that level, takes this kind of stuff, right?
Sure.
These podcasts and whatever this grows into, and like just consulting in basketball, right? Increasing my knowledge and getting mentors in the spaces that I want to go to. I think all of this is going to lead to that level. And then there's another part of me that's I want to be Harvey Katani. I want to be at a nice private school.
Sure.
And being able to be connected to Team USA, to a shoe brand,
Sure.
And just teaching the game at a high level and being compensated for it. I'm not even going like that. It's the truth. I want to be compensated for what I know about basketball. Now, do I do it for the love still? Absolutely. There is always service in me and free sessions and free coaching that I'll always give, but also I understand this business, and if I can be there where I'm at, competing for CIF and state championships. And that's like my retirement, is that I'm coaching basketball and
Love it.
Yeah, just investing into kids and helping them reach their goals is like, that's my passion. And so still continuing to do that. So hopefully, I think both of those can happen in a way. But that's where I see myself in 20 years.
Free. Gosh, in our world, that's all the time, right?
Yes.
It's like our intellectual property doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
It's, yeah. So,
yeah. Question 2?
Question 2. I don't know if I have a question 2. That's the one I wanted to ask you.
That was a good one.
Yeah. I don't know if I have a question 2. Can we leave it at 1?
We could. You're the first person to do this. I don't know if we can.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna have to go to the producers, Karina.
I'll go with 2. You just
gotta find one. We'll give you time. We'll give you time.
You brought up shoe brand. Okay.
Okay.
So when you have your own private school program, are you gonna take the safe route with Nike? Or are you gonna go something else?
Very interesting.
Or is there gonna be a core prep shoe eventually?
No, I will never. I'm never doing triple B's, man. I'm never doing triple B shoes.
Okay.
I've always thought about this because of Core, right? Core has had opportunities where shoe brands, not necessarily wanted to sponsor, but maybe gift or help out, whatever it is. I am a Jordan guy. I love Jordans. Like the shoes I wear when I hoop are Team Jordan.
After you get done with this, can I have a third question? Because it just came.
Yes, absolutely.
It just came to me now.
All right.
Thank you.
So I'm a Jordan guy. So to me, that's like the elite of the elite. If I had an opportunity to have Jordan, would be my goal. Now, but I'm open to every shoe brand. That's my personal taste. I'm open to every shoe brand. Whoever wants to partner with me and what we're doing with Core, right, or what I would be doing with high school, I'm open to having that conversation because I believe in that. I believe this is that with high character and high quality product, that you're going to add value wherever you go, and that's the 2 things that I focus on the most in my life. That I pray that my character stays high, that I stay humble and working hard, and that the quality of our product, what I teach. I'm a basketball school. I'm not a NBA skills trainer. I'm not the best coach to ever touch the court. No, we're a school. I'm going to teach you how to play basketball. We do that at a very high level. There are not many kids who leave our program not understanding the game of basketball.
Sure.
And so that's, now they all think they're Michael Jordan when they leave, and that's a whole another question, a whole another side, their confidence. But teaching basketball is what we do. So whoever wants to partner with us in giving that message out,
love it.
I would love to be with. So
love it. So you kind of spawned my next question with that explanation. Who's your GOAT?
Oh boy. All right. So the GOAT thing. So I believe there's. How do I give you a straight answer? So Michael Jordan is my GOAT. Right, Michael Jordan is the one who.
Can you say it in the camera for my coaching
Michael
staff?
Jordan is
Thanks,
my
man.
GOAT.
Thanks, man.
Now there comes with a caveat. It comes with a little asterisk, right?
Okay.
Michael Jordan is my GOAT because of the love that he made me feel for the game.
Same.
It's the love, and he did it his attitude towards it for me was the way I would want to do it and go out, right?
Yeah.
I believe the GOAT of the game, though, is LeBron James.
Okay. Let's edit that for the coaching staff. That's not going to be in there, right? You got the power.
My goat's Michael. The goat is LeBron. And I may be a little biased because I've had the opportunity to work with him and see the focus he had on.
You just flexed on me there with the I had the chance to work with him. You said that you slid that in so subtly.
Listen,
that's incredible.
If you look at the pictures when you walk in, you see it, and then at the top, so he's up there. So to see the greatness in a workout setting in action,
that's incredible.
It's amazing. So I'm sure if I saw Kobe or Jordan do it, I would feel a certain type of way.
Sure.
But to see, to have the opportunity to see LeBron do it day after, like for 2 summers, it was like, this is why. And I believe he is as close to the perfect basketball player as you can get.
Interesting.
Because his ability to do everything. He can get to any spot on the court. His vision is ridiculous. His IQ is off the charts. His athleticism at, what is he, like 73 now, is still ridiculous. He's just, to me, he is. I think when he actually retires, I think all of us Jordan lovers and Kobe lovers are gonna look back and like, yeah, we're a little crazy.
Zero chance.
We're a little
for
crazy,
me,
man. I get it.
But I will say this: I went back recently and watched highlights from the 2008 team, and he's the closest thing to like a Monstar there is. Like some of those blocks, and he's remarkable. Yeah. It's just absolutely remarkable. So I always say, when we argue as a coaching staff about it, we get into the topic often, it's more just, I just say, like, I never challenge his greatness. Like, you're talking about being the second best ever, you know? Right. That's,
Yes. Why is Jordan better than LeBron to you?
For me, when you speak to NBA, whose hands do you want on that basketball? Game on the line, right? And I'm not even speaking to him defensively. I think Jordan, from start of his career to end, was a better defender. I think Jordan's ability to deliver, like uplift his team with the ball in his hands was just remarkable. And his ability to shot make, like, I can't say enough good things, man. Like, you put me on the spot with the question, but to me, in the NBA, I want the ball in Michael Jordan's hands with the game on the line. I don't want it in LeBron's because it's going to go to Ray Allen. No, it's going to go to Kyrie Irving. It's going to go to one of his teammates.
If you look statistically, LeBron's percentage is higher with decision-making shots than Michael Jordan's. And just because we've had moments of him passing the ball and making a correct basketball
Answer my question, though.
What's the question?
Do you want him?
I want LeBron to have the ball.
I mean, it's still a good place to be.
Yeah. No. I hear you. I know. I love it. I love this. I love this argument. That's what I'm saying. I feel like LeBron plays the game a different way. Now, I'm not dumb though. Like, it's very hard. I hope he's passing it to Jordan. There you go. So I want LeBron to have the ball. I hope he's passing it to Jordan.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, you're just like, this is so fun. Same thing with Magic. Like Magic, I think. Well, LeBron actually doesn't even get enough credit for his ability to pass the basketball.
Yep.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
it's incredible. But he's been amazing for 2 decades.
Yes.
It's just
the argument is he's been the best player in the league since 2007.
Yeah.
That night in and night out, minus injury years. But hey, we can talk about this.
I know. I steered us out of there.
No, this is great.
I steered us out of there.
You got the 24-second shot clock. Okay, 24 seconds. Speak to the people in that camera. Anything you want that you have going on, or how to reach you, or any encouragement that you have for the people that are listening.
I don't need anybody to reach me. I just think for me, young coaches, my message would be to the young coaches is grind, be patient, and just wait your turn. Right? Being put on the spot's hard right now. I didn't know I was going to have to share words of wisdom, but I appreciate it, though. But, yeah, I just think young, aspiring head coaches, be patient, be hardworking, and continue to follow your North Star. So,
love it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
It's been amazing.
Appreciate you, my man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. We'll
Thank
see
you.
you guys next time. Peace.